Hi everyone, Comic Reviewer here, this time reviewing on Spider-Man 3. Now, Spider-Man 3 is a 2007 superhero film that was directed by Sam Raimi, as well as being unintentionally the final entry in the Spider-Man trilogy, as there were plans for a fourth one to be released in 2011 that just never got off the ground. And the premise of the film is meant to take place several months, after Doc Ock's sacrifice. We see how Peter has finally been accepted by the people of New York as Spider-Man. We see how Peter's life starts to go well, and we kind of see how the people in Peter's life have either moved on, changed, or have new things happening to them. Like, we see how MJ's got her Broadway musical career. We see how Harry is still vengeful against Spider-Man. And once things for Peter, when he wants to plan to propose to MJ, we see firsthand afterwards how MJ's musical debut starts to go wrong after some bad reviews, and this causes the people who hired her to turn on her. We see how Harry, when he becomes the new Green Goblin and tries to attack Peter, ends up getting amnesia, losing his memory, and slowly, bit by bit, starts to regain himself. And we see how Peter learns, to his shock, his horror, as well to his anger, that the person who he thought killed Uncle Ben was actually Flint Marko, who was meant to be the Sandman. Now, I would say having it as Flint Marko sort of works, because this is a movie. They will change anything they want to change the story. And of course, you can kind of tell Flint Marko is meant to feel responsible. He's meant to feel like, he's trying to help his daughter get healthy again. And you can tell he tries to do the wrong things for the right reasons. And we are introduced to Eddie Brock. Now, Eddie Brock's character is a guy who tries to be something he's not. He acts all snarky, arrogant, brash, and is meant to be a counterpart to Peter Parker. And I feel the way he's thrown in doesn't really work. And it's kind of like when they throwed in Gwen Stacy. This is something I always had a problem with, throwing in Gwen Stacy and MJ at the same time. It just adds the wrong kind of chemistry. And yeah, when you also have Peter having the symbiote, he basically acts all emo, basically all arrogant, selfish, hypocritical. I think that works, but I think what ruins it a bit is when they have Peter dancing around the streets, holding his family pride. And this is a moment you can kind of tell this started the series of memes and the whole bully Parker thing. And I think there are times where characters do try and be there for Peter, like Aunt May trying to help Peter realize that anger isn't going to make things right. And when you kind of got Peter's landlord, Mr. Cease, it's a moment where you can kind of tell he's not really a bad guy to Peter. When he sees what Peter's going through, he tries to be a friend and a mentor. And I think that actually works. And I think the point of the symbiote is meant to be a metaphor about not letting anger, arrogance, as well as vengeance cloud your judgment. And yeah, we've all been there before where we felt wrong, but it's always important to move past it. And yeah, like I said, this film was responsible for the whole Bully Parker memes. And I know originally the film was meant to include Vulture and Sandman. I felt if they stuck with it, things could have been different. Like having it that Vulture used to work for Norman Osborn and wants vengeance against Harry for what happened to his company. Have it that Sandman works with him as Adrian Toomes promises to kind of help him with his daughter's medical bills. You could have had it that Peter learns that Sandman did kill his uncle, and Peter deciding what would be best. This would have been better, but I think by the end of it, you can kind of tell Sam Raimi was put under a lot of pressure by Sony to include Venom. And I think we've all been there when we've sort of wanted to work on something only to have it tainted with. And I would say it's not as bad as what everyone else said. Yeah, it's a little cringeworthy when Peter becomes emo Peter Parker or bully Parker. And yeah, it was responsible for the memes that did come. And I know originally there was meant to be a full film that would have included Hannah Hathaway as Black Cat. And I would say leaving it there and there as the third film does work, because it shows a moment where Peter has to deal with not only anger, vengeance, and jealousy, but also has to try and help Harry not make the same mistakes his father made. And you can kind of tell Peter wants to do that. And I would say by the end of it, Spider-Man 3 is a hit and miss, but it knows what it wants to tell. I think the movie deserves a thumbs in the middle. It's kind of alright, kind of okay, but it's not one of the best entries. And the trilogy is a bit of a hit and miss, but it still told a good story. So I think it deserves a thumbs up. Still good and still alright. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.